Hello, hello. How is everybody doing? It is Friday. Welcome to the Toy Armada Friday Night Live. Got a couple people here. Josh is here. Jazzmeister. And we got Van Hope still here. How's everybody doing? I am going through the old feed today to see if I like it any better than the other way. So it might look a little different, but there we go. Man, that light is bright. Oh, anyway. How's everybody doing? It's like a crazy trailer week. So I'm definitely going to talk about some trailers. I'm going to wait a few more minutes see if people want to trickle in. Welcome to my Bat Cave. This is where I do my work. I draw in here. I paint these things. I collect art and toys and books. So this is kind of where I do my thing. All right. Sounds like everybody's, hey, we got Ninja here. How's it going? So I figured I would talk a little bit about the general getting into the toy industry today. I get that question a lot. A lot of people want to get into 3D printing and think that could be a way into toy design and different things. So anyway, I figured I'd talk a little bit about my inroads into toys and how some other people I know have gotten into toys. And then we can go from there. I figure we talk the Transformer trailer, maybe some of the other trailers that came out just for giggles, and then we'll just talk Transformers probably. So I got into the toy industry a couple years before I actually started at Hasbro in the mid 90s, 93, let's call it. I started working at American Greetings. They had a division called Those Characters from Cleveland that did Strawberry Shortcake and Holly Hobby. And in the past, they had done Barnyard Commandos and Mad Balls, things like that, Popples. So they were kind of a professional development house that then would go off and partner with other companies and license the Care Bears. That was another one. So I did some Popples and some exploratory work on some other toy brands that never really went anywhere, some pitches while I was in college. And that was my first kind of connection to toys in any way proper. Barnyard Commandos was designed by a guy named James Groman, who did Mad Balls and has done a bunch of really cool vinyl things that have come out recently. He and I are old friends. So he got his start up there too. And that was an interesting place to learn while I was in college, kind of get a sense of what manufacturing and process and design and pitches and things were like that. And I tell you that because that was more of an internship thing that my college worked with American Greetings to set up interviews, and I was fortunate enough to have the right chops to get a more freelance opportunity. So I worked there a couple summers too. And when I got a chance to interview for Hasbro in 94, fall of 94, I had the materials that I had developed at American Greetings on both toys and illustrative cards, plus my prodigious sketchbook output. Any of you have seen me at shows, I carry around a sketchbook. This happens to be volume 107, so that tells you I've been at it a while. They're all hardback. And so I took a lot of these sketchbooks that I had a bunch of them, even at the time in college. I think I took 3 or 4 of them. I took my American Greetings portfolio. I did a bunch of Predator and Alien and Batman animated materials. I thought I had that stuff out here to look at. I guess not. So I basically looked at the brands Hasbro had and kind of did drawings of Aliens, Predator, Batman the Animated Series. I did some turns of my own characters. I had self-published 2 issues of a comic book in college as well. So I had my comic books, and so I took some of my characters and did some of the toy turns and things to kind of show that I understood how to do that. My inroad into toy particularly is a little unique. So I'll take a half step back. Most toy people traditionally are industrial designers. So that's a degree, just like illustration or engineering or whatever. Industrial design lives somewhere between the creative process and engineering. How are we actually going to make this thing? Cars, stereos, every manufactured good is industrial designed so that it fits and works properly. It doesn't just have a Batman logo on it, you know? So I didn't have that background. So I did not know manufacturing. I might not have known kind of 3D turn understanding of that from an education standpoint. I kind of absorbed it from just self-study. But I was definitely in a deficit there. But my output of ideas and just volume of in drawings and ideas and different levels of ideas from everything from hard edge animated or aliens to kind of softer animated. So they saw something in that, and that helped me. So I say all that, and I'll get back to it, that the inroad into the toy business is kind of wide. It's a wide road of how you can get in. The doors are what is small. So you can be an illustrator that has a lot of ideas. You can be a mech tech background. You can be an industrial designer. You could even have a background in sculpting or kit bashing, photography. There's a lot of inroads with personal preference and hobbies now with, the 3D programs for sculpting, ZBrush and the like. It used to be very boutique to get in. You had to know how to sculpt in wax and all this kind of stuff. So now it's a little more open with some of those new techniques. So I was able to get in on my creative output and compensated for not being an industrial designer accurately at the time. And at that time, I hadn't even graduated college. Hasbro actually offered me a job the semester prior to me graduating. So I actually graduated this year. I finished the last class I needed to finish off my schooling. So at 50, I am now a college graduate. So there you go. So I was able to come in and add to a group that had very strong industrial design skills. And that's how I was able to get in as a creative comic guy, as they used to call us, comic boy, that brought more styling and costuming and modern artist aesthetic and interest in what was happening at the time. Industrial designers might not entirely be into toys. They know how to execute the products, but they might not be into it. Whereas comic people and kind of people in pre-production world, they're kind of into it. I mean, I like drawing different Batman costumes and stuff like that, different iterations of Optimus. Some people do not. They just want to make it, and they want it. They're more interested in making it shoot very far. So, or open up and blossom in a unique way. So, um, you get all different types. So I worked, and then we all have the skill set. And then when you build, hopefully, when Hasbro would build these teams, you would have a guy that was, or a person that was really good at sculpt inputs, a person that was really good at presentations, um, someone that could work with marketing and kind of make it all work, someone that does the mech tech side. Uh, we all get pretty good at costing internally. So I've seen every permeation of ways to get into Hasbro. Another avenue that a lot of people use is while they're in their college years, in their degree planning stage, they have co-op opportunities at a lot of colleges or internships, where they'll come and work for Hasbro over the summer or during their co-op quarters to gain experience, internal experience, and see if you like that field. And it's also a feeder a bit to get into the company. So people that are really into it will co-op 2-3 times over the course of a couple of years, and then they have connections within the company, and might get sought out when there's an opening, because of that training and understanding what happens, and we liked what they had going on. So what else can I say? So I think I was really fortunate at a time where, after McFarlane had come out and some other things were slightly changing in the industry, more focused on the big movies, Jurassic Park and the Batmans, Star Wars down the way. They knew they needed some more dynamic people in the building that were into poses and anatomy and coming up with just crazy stuff. And we'll figure out how to make toys of it later, was kind of the attitude at that time, a little bit. So it was real insight that somebody had to bring in a bunch of us, and most of us succeeded pretty well. So it was a good blend. Trying to think if there's anything else, if there's any other questions on that one, on how to get into the toy industry. Now, how to get in now, it's a little trickier. There's a lot of gates to even get your thing into people's hands. But if you go to conventions, if you meet these guys online, you see Mark and Vicky and Michelino and Lenny and all these guys, Dwight on Marvel. They're online, they're communicating, strike up a friendship, slip into the DMs, kind of don't show your stuff. They're kind of under contract, but start a relationship, go show it as a portfolio, try to get freelance work and see where it goes. There are a couple schools, Otis out in LA, and FIT have toy programs that you can go to college and get a degree in toy design. So that's a different way of training as well. So that's pretty good. Figure I'd talk 15 minutes on these little topics and then see where we want to go. So how's everybody doing? The first guy, how you doing? Hello, Chris, Rick, Rodimus Power, Princeton Phalanx, how you doing? Oh, okay. Yeah, they're popping up. There's different skill sets you learn in those places, and I would say, just like any degree, it's going to be about what you do with it. Because toys is very wide and broad. Action figures is very straightforward manufacturing. If you want to get into gaming or certainly digital stuff, it's all a different kind of set of questions and knowledge you need, which I don't necessarily possess. So I wouldn't know how to get into the game side and stuff. But Um, so I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer. Kind of boring. Indiana Jones trailer. Definitely boring. And then the Transformers trailer, which was different, but not as boring. Which one, Ninja? Which one? Guardians? Guardians felt to me like what the last Thor did, which is, oh, we want to do more of what we did before, and nobody's stopping to go, well, you'd had just enough last time. Don't add more, just do that again. And they don't take their lesson. So it seems like, I don't know. I like more mood in my trailers, maybe. I'm a guy from the '90s, so I like the setup mood thing more than the whatever. Yeah. Um, but Raiders a lot, or Indiana Jones, just I don't know. We'll see, but I, you know, I saw that first one in the theater when I was a little kid. I wish they made more when I was a little kid. Again, at 50, I don't need to see an 80-year-old Harrison Ford running around, I guess. Um, we'll see. We'll see. And I am a little harsh. I'm harsh on trailers in general. Um, yeah. But that Transformers trailer had some interesting stuff. Really cool to see the Beast characters. I'm not gonna review the trailer per se. I'm just a fan that likes to go to these things and go, "Oh, I can't wait to see that," or I'll wait to see what people say about that. Um, but the Transformer one was pretty cool. My son thought it was cool. He wanted to go see it. I like the Beasts. It was. I'm not sure about Optimus Primal's voice quite yet, but we'll see. We'll hear more of that. I was bummed out, I guess, that it wasn't the classic voice, but I guess that's to be expected these days. The more I think about it, the more we're probably very fortunate and lucky that we had Peter be able to participate in the movies like we wanted. I suppose at any point that could have changed, and um, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how David K didn't get in there. I know that in my day we probably would have advocated for it with whoever we were working with, but you know, who knows? Maybe he was busy. Maybe he didn't get asked. I don't know. I don't know. Um, but I like the trailer. I think it was just a good setup. It wasn't too much mystery. They showed full body Optimus and some of the new featured vehicles like the Porsche. Um, oh yeah, yeah. Transformers 2002. Yeah, Peter deserves every bit of the Optimus he gets, and I'm glad he's part of it. I'm just saying, in today's Hollywood, we should be fortunate. We're fortunate that went that way. If I think back now, and the joke was that it was going to be George Clooney or something, we're lucky it wasn't. Not that that was in the plans, but just the way Hollywood works, we're really lucky. Um, so I really liked the bird, even though we only saw a little back view of it. Optimus is awesome in his more G1 form, so proof that Michael Bay just wanted to do his own thing, right? Um, and I don't know, just wanted to hear what everybody thought. Yeah, there were a lot of good visual cues. Cheetor running next to Bumblebee was awesome. That was really cool. I love that it was huge, not some cheetah scaled thing. Which tells me maybe we can get black arachne or something that we just don't know yet. Some giant spider or something nasty would be cool. Um, so I'm looking forward to it. I like that they didn't put too much focus on the humans. Seems like this trailer was doing its best to make sure that anyone who still does pay attention to the Transformer movies franchise before the movies come out was was going to be excited and invested in what they were going to do. They were showing off what they were gonna do so that all y'all will stay with it and stick with it and kind of get this next bite at this apple as they turn it into the next phase, I guess. So, from a structural standpoint, I think it was a bit of a love letter um, to everybody that knows the property. And if you remember Rhinox or Cheetor or Optimus Primal, and you're definitely, oh, hey, they're back. That trailer did that real well. Kind of weird that they went back to the old Camaro for Bumblebee, but am I to believe this is in the timeline at some point before, or I'm not sure how that works, but I don't know why he went backwards. We actually presented him with all that rally gear for the fourth movie way back when, maybe the third movie. The movie needs to remember that the Transformers, both Autobots and Decepticons, are characters, not. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully they make them better characters. RC, they clearly were trying to do some of that. We saw that. Okay, it's set in the 90s. All right. All right. So it does conform a little bit to the Bumblebee movie, I guess. Not that I really care. I don't think the first 3 or 4 were that well organized as far as timelines and whatnot. So an Armada movie in a live format. I don't know if you need that per se. I think you could just do a Transformer movies where you have mini Transformers or something. So that'd be good. I'm hoping the delay didn't affect anything, and the movie does well. Might be the only thing going well, but hopefully it goes well. Let me see here. Claudio, what are your thoughts on Cybertron Starscream getting a legacy figure in 2004 or 24? Yeah, that'd be cool. That triangle design, I think that'd be good. Starscream's a good character. He's got a lot of forms. Everything that was debuted seemed pretty cool. I got a little bit of a different take on Thundertron. That original toy was made for the Hong Kong market, or Asia market, I guess I should say, with a partnership to do that in China. And so I don't know. And then it was a bigger part of the novel. That was a character I created and was a big part of the Align continuity plan to explain a lot of things. And I don't consider him necessarily part of the Prime universe, even though we had to design him somewhat in that format. I don't think he ever made it to the show. But that character, when created, is we were trying to tell a story of how Transformers in their golden era populated the universe. They had space bridges and they went all across the universe and set up colonies and started evolving in their own ways. You can imagine that's how Velocitron and all these other places could have gotten populated as they went off into their grand exploration of the universe. And this planet was at the end of the line that Thundertron was a leader of, and it was a pastoral, very nature-based planet, and the Autobots or whoever came in, the Cybertronians we called them, and offered nice new stuff and new ways to do things, and uh, through the war, then the space bridge is shut down, and kind of the population on this planet got used to all that Cybertronian stuff, and kind of where he was upset that his people were left with being dissatisfied now because they can't get these things that they didn't used to need. So very much a anti-colonizer kind of story. And then he gets a chance to find a ship and a space bridge that he uses ultimately to try to go to Cybertron and take care of business. So interesting character. He was going to be able to show that there was a wide universe of Transformers, an evolution on all these places, a different point of view. What were the effects of that era, golden era, and the war starting and everything breaking down? What were the far effects on some of these planets or some of these Transformers that no longer had access to, the type of energon they used to have, or gear, or materials, or whatever. So, that was a lot of fun. So I'm glad to see that guy come back. Emiliano and I worked on that guy. One of the last figures that I contributed to heavily. So that's interesting. Love to see Tigerhawk, is that his name? Back as well. Sandstorm could be cool. We'll see. We'll see. According to Rick Alvarez, Thundertron's going to be main villain of the third season before they want Beast Hunters. I think that's something we pitched, and we were hoping they would go for it, but it was never part of the plan. So there's a big difference between an opportunity that this could have happened and something in progress that then had to be changed. So it was never in the plan. It was an opportunity to be in the plan. And Beast Hunters was our management wanted dragons and beasts and claws. There wasn't enough going on with Prime from a toyetic aspect. So management wanted a heavier overlay so that we could promote, that Beast Hunters, and you could see that overt advertising in the packaging and everything that happened there. And that's classic toyetic stuff. It's a shame that it didn't happen in the first two seasons, because I think Prime would have lasted a little longer had it had more of a toy anchor and not just a network focused production. So that's why one of the reasons Prime didn't really last. It didn't have a toy hook. And again, I'll keep saying it all day, every day when we talk, but the fact that something just transforms isn't always enough. It needs to be in a show or connected or part of a program or something. So I hope that gives us some details on Thundertron. Hey, got a special guest star, El Gato. His name is Jiro, for those wanting to know. Jazzmeister. Oh, by the way, a little off-topic question. I sent you an email. Don't know if you got it. Yeah, I say yes to most interviews. I just don't. Well, we'll talk. We'll talk. Just lay it all out, and we can make it happen. How do you think they will handle transmetals? Should we get them in Legacy? I think they'll do them eventually. Whether or not, whether or not we'll ever see the original molds anywhere, that's a different topic. But I think transmetals should be a concept they explore again. That would be cool. Might even be cool for the vehicles, like an armored up, like transmetal vehicles. That'd be kind of cool. The robot assassin, how you doing? Instagram, buddy. So the Bay film story with Unicron emerging from the Earth is still unresolved. Yeah, it seems like it. Seems like it. Um, Unicron is a big, crazy story point to have make sense in a quadrant Hollywood movie. I think that might be tough. Oh, what is the Shogun Warriors theme? Or that's just the Super 7 Shogun Warrior figure. Um, that's all. Nothing exciting. Just decided I populate it different every week. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I move paintings around. And some toys are different. You're not really. I'm not, because I just need the difference. I'm always looking for different inspiration. So there you go. I just realized that is going to be the first time there's a story with the Maximals set in the present. Yeah, that's probably pretty true in general for the large mass people. Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, we saw the only thing in that trailer that left me kind of scratching my head was the long shot of the three kind of meteorites crashing into the bay or whatever. Is that the three beast characters? What is that? Couldn't quite tell. Uh, but like, we already had the Dinobots in China lost somewhere. So I'm curious if this is a similar thing or these guys come from somewhere else. I don't know. Was there any more Minicon combined weapons planned for Armada line but never made it? I don't think so. I don't think so. We did those early 4, and then we pivoted, and then like never went back to that idea until Energon again, right? So I don't believe so. I kind of the shield and the sword and the weapon, the gun. That was pretty much it. So, all right, Princeton Phalanx 59. My thoughts on the HasLab Thesaurus. I like it. Happy to see it in colors in the last week or two here. I like it because it's very Japanesey. I like Japanese robots for that reason. Although for that, I don't have the connection to that character did personally, and I think it's a little bit more than I want to spend on it. But if there's some add-ons, maybe that would make it work a little bit better for me. I don't know. I'm conflicted. I like them. I like setting stuff up and having it on the shelf and everything. But for that kind of money, I like action features and things, so it just feels a little stiff for me. That's the toy action spring-loaded designer talking. So we'll see. Eric, I know Wolfang was pitched to be in Beast Wars Season 1. Were there any toy pitched to be in Season 2 or 3 that didn't make it? Well, they would get a lot of input as to what the toy company want. Like, we would show mainframe the various things we were working towards. They were so tight on the CG builds that every build needed to be a character that mattered. That sounds obviously, but if a new character came, he had to have a role, or she had to have a role to move the story forward, or a character you would want to come back, because once they build that mainframe 3D digital model, that was a big deal back then. So they only had so many items they could turn into those for the show. So I think they decided early on, like, okay, this guy's a strong character, this guy's a sneaky character, this woman's this, so that's how it was sorted out. So I don't know if there were any that I recall. Everything was pitched, but then they made those choices. The first guy. My concern is that the gold on Desaurus isn't vacuum sealed plastic part of the whole GPS issue. If it's molded gold, that's an issue. If it's hot stamped or vacuum metallization VM'd, that would be better. But if it's molded in gold, that problem will exist. And if they don't do it well, it'll be tan instead of gold. And so they should just pick a different color. Was there ever any conversation about bringing more of the Beast Wars 2 Neo toys to America in the early 2000s? Absolutely, there was, but those toys were made to such a different standard and price structure and feature structure that they did not fit the Hasbro. And I think Takara did that on purpose for what they needed, because they had plenty of the other. That these were items that Takara felt they needed to fill out a line and get their back end animation made, so that they had a 52 episode commitment of new content. It wasn't 52 episodes of Beast Wars, but it was between Beast Wars and Beast Wars 2 and a second season of Beast Wars and things. They were able to get 52 episodes. I'm a little fuzzy on how it rolled out, but that was in general what was happening. So we were able to bring those toys in when Hasbro.com launched. I think you were able to get the giraffe or the horse. You were able to get, I think there was a purple Megatron of some sort. I'm a little fuzzy even now. I think you could get the penguin, the rabbit. So we tried to bring them over a little bit, but they couldn't. They really couldn't be in the main line because they just didn't fit price structure. And if you notice, we were never even able to use those as redecos. Put them in Universe or something because they kind of just did not fit. The horse has hair. The giraffe has a pretty extensive feature. Longrack, I think, is his name. So they just didn't. They didn't jive with the cost structure. Yeah, Magnetron. Yeah, that's Hasbro Collector's Head, Beast Wars 2. Yep. Leo Convoy. Yep, that was another one that came out. But that was early days of retail internet buying from a company like Hasbro. It was basically our test items. Those items were some of the first items that were ever done that way. Yeah. Was the Prime's toy line light up gimmick or the Voyagers inspired by the canceled Transdeck toys? No, not necessarily. I mean, light up and translucency and clear windows, lighting up, it's pretty straightforward. If you can afford it and it works for the type of product you're making, that's great. If not, it's fine. Wow. The Dark Knight. What is the favorite gimmick I designed? That's tough. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds. There's little ones that I recall that I just enjoy. I enjoy Scavenger Armadas being able to backward walk and moonwalk, essentially, or stomp, the Godzilla stomp, as I like to think of it. I kind of enjoy that. I don't think it's a great feature, but that's kind of where my mind goes. I'll have to think about that. Yeah, Ninja. Yeah, I think maybe you needed a fax machine to buy from there. You're not far off. You're not far off. I mean, we had the internet at that time, and there was no phone. You were at your computer, so it was definitely early days. Eric, do you know if there were ever any concepts discussed for a potential season 4 of Beast Wars, or was it straight to Beast Machines? No, I think it was always going to pivot somehow. I wasn't intimately involved then, but I think that was the pivot they were going to make. That there was going to be a bit of a time jump and a shift going to Cybertron. And at the time, they wanted to get back into vehicles, but they clearly didn't because only Jetstorm is kind of, barely a plane, but at least you'd call it a plane. I don't. What would you call Strike? A battle tank, I guess. Some of them just are tough. Although the SR-71 is pretty cool. Was Armada Hotshots light up fist part of Hasbro plans or something Takara added? It was in the original model, and that's why there's clear elements in the Star Saber sword, the Minicon Star Saber sword, to ideally try to light pipe directly with a light in his fist up into that sword. It did not work out very well, and we knew that it wasn't going to work out very well. You can't really, it's hard to transfer that much light very far. So, and we knew we weren't going to put lights in every item, so it was a bit of a outlier for Hasbro. And I think we canned that feature pretty early, but Takara liked it and used it as a launch kind of reason to buy. So that's how that happened. All right. We're at the 45-minute mark almost. Got 31 people here so far. That's great. Thanks for everybody for coming. Again, I'm Aaron Archer. I'm a former designer at Hasbro and Kenner. And I spent 13 plus years on Transformers, so people like to hear what happened back in those days. So here we are. Like, subscribe. Thank you for super chats, all that. I'm just getting in the flow of this, so thanks for spending some time on Friday with me. I'll look up some more of these questions. I always really like the Beast Machines Deluxe Primal. Any chance the mold still exists? The Beast Machines Deluxe Primal. Yeah, it probably exists. Probably. A lot of that tooling is still, if it was mainline type stuff, a lot of that is in storage. So it could still be around. Super chat from T-Formers 2002. Thank you. What are you planning on doing a short Trans-Tech segment with Proto, or is there not enough info for that? I'd love to hear the full details. Yes, we will do some. So you bring up a good point. Trans-Tech only went so far, so it's a lot of 2D visuals and a couple of model images and my memory from being around in that time and needing to deal with the kind of ramifications of it. So we will be able to do a segment on it. It won't be as visual, I suppose, as some of the other ones, but you will be able to get a better business sense as to why companies make dramatic pivots after doing a fair amount of development work and why that happened at that time. It's an interesting story on how we ended up with Armada and whatnot. So there definitely is enough, and I think it's a very compelling story because there's always it's the biggest lost segment of Transformers. So I'm able to explain segmentation and the business aspects well through Trans-Tech, why it was going to happen and its pros and cons, and why it didn't happen and the pros and cons of that. So I appreciate that. So yeah, we'll definitely do a Trans-Tech. Whether or not Proto and I will do it, I'll talk to him. I think he does want to do it, or if I do it in this format. But yeah, we'll definitely get to that one because there's only a handful of people that dealt with trans tech, and I'm still in contact with one of the main artists, so maybe I'll pick his brain a little bit. The Robot Assassin. I totally would have bought the trans tech toys. Some of them did look awesome, and now in hindsight, they look kind of cool even today. I gotta tell you, at the time though, they were just more Jetstorm, more kind of planey things, kind of race car things, kind of tank things, and we were just ready to get to like where Armada got and where RID gave us to, back to vehicles that you knew what they were, to the point where it's a Mercedes, right? So Transtech, while they were great toys, they were at the wrong time. What I often say was they became the wrong answer to the question that was being asked at that time. And that happens. And I'll dig into that more. Were made as toys in the... Yeah, people say that the Transtech designs show up in other places. I'm not as sure those are direct uses or just kind of squint and they feel like they're the same, but it could be. Draxel jumps Transtech. Yeah. Ken Lashley, who I'm still in contact with, he did a ton of designs for those, and that's what you see online a lot of. There's another designer at Hasbro, Chris Woods, who did a ton of great little pencil drawings on tissue paper and stuff. Ultimately, some of that stuff was looking really cool, and I'll show some of that. Was there ever a figure in Armada that made it to prototype stage but didn't come out? No. I take a lot of pride in planning. We had very good planning. We had a mission. We knew what we wanted to achieve from a financial and a awareness thing with Armada, trying to bring back the basics, bring back cars, get back to basics, Autobots, Decepticons. So we made our plan and pretty much stuck to it. There was almost, I don't think there's anything there. I mean, there's some concept drawings of we could take a car this way or that way, but nothing that was in the works, truly in the process, the pipeline that got dropped or something. I don't recall. And I don't often talk highly of the situation I was in, but I was well planned. So I tried not to have things fall off or design things that didn't need to have been designed, or waste time or budget designing things that weren't part of a business plan. So I don't have a lot of lost characters. Hold on. I was cleaning out my office today and I found a lost character, but not Transformer, Nightwing from Night Force Ninjas. But he is back in the closet, I guess, not out on my desk. Ken Lashley looked at my portfolio, tore me up. Oh, if you were 17 at the time, that was just good. That was good input from a fellow pro. Ken's a great guy, man. What a talent! We're all talent too. Such a good dude. The Armada Creative Bible had quite a few different depictions of the human cast. Alex being probably the most different. Was something that was a call from the North American side or from Japan? I don't recall exactly. Alexis, there's a guy named Steve Drucker that did a lot of Hasbro's animation translations, adaptions, partnerships with co-developments and things. So he was a partner in Japan to these shows as well. His daughter's name was Alexis, so they put that in there. But Alexis looks a lot like Samantha Lomo a little bit too. So So I can't recall what the changes were or why, but we definitely needed a variety cast. So Carlos obviously got in there, and um, so that's what I remember. We wanted some variety. Jetpack Man 01, even though the TF Wiki says the Marvel Megamorphs line reused the unproduced Transtech designs, I don't see it when they actually compare them side by side. Yeah, I don't. There could have been some leveraging of some knowledge, but I don't think they're direct translations of anything. Yeah, that's my remembrance of it. The story editor of Beast Machines had never heard of Transtech when asked. That is a good possibility. We did a lot of internal planning and prep because we had to have all our ducks in a row before we would have given anything the mainframe. Because just every build was expensive and time consuming. So we had to know what we wanted to do, and everything was approved through our management. And then that stuff would get kind of a meeting of the minds and like, okay, well, here's what we want you to focus on. And then they would tell great stories around that. So it does not surprise me that as they were finishing up Beast Machines and busy doing that, they wouldn't have been too involved with what's next, because that was being driven from Hasbro. They didn't pitch us ideas necessarily, from what I recall. So yeah, he probably never would have heard of it. That tracks to me. Rick, thanks. Yeah, hit the like, subscribe, smash that like button, all that good stuff. That's another thing. The fans, you guys, at different times have each Transformer is a unique puzzle. I don't think they sit around going, okay, here's this form and let's change the outside and some of the inside, but it'll move the same. They're kind of all unique a little bit. So a lot of fans at different times will say, oh, you took that form and shifted it to this. I don't know if there's ever a conscious effort. I just think there's only so many ways to fold a plastic robot up, so that might feel similar, but that's never part of the design thought process. But all the concepts do get reused one way or another eventually. Didn't Bob Skier want to exit Transformers after Beast Machines anyway because of Chris? Yeah, I'm not as up to date on that whole scuttlebutt. I remember there was one, but I'm unfamiliar with that timing because I wasn't directly involved with Beast Machines or Beast Wars. I was just kind of sitting in that office in Batman world or Special Projects world at different times, hearing what they were doing and seeing what they were doing and understanding what they were doing. But I didn't have any say, or so I kind of remember from sitting next to these guys and the discussions, and some brainstorms as well. All right, Claudio. During that time overlap of Kenner having Transformers and DC, was there ever the slightest consideration for a crossover line? No, not directly at that time. I don't know if we were there yet. I don't know if the idea of putting peanut butter and chocolate together had made sense to people yet. I would have loved to do a Batmobile Transformer, a line of transforming Batmobiles with the different Batman robots. That would have just been awesome, and something I'd probably still be talking about had I been able to do that. We pitched a concept of licensed cars, so like the Ghostbuster car, the DeLorean, the Knight Rider, the A-Team van, all that kind of stuff. I even paid Robbie Musso to use his Mach 1 Speed Racer transformer in our presentation, because that was one we could have done. But just that whole concept never went anywhere at the time. But when I see the Ghostbuster and the Jurassic Park and the DeLorean and stuff, I smile and know that we were heading that direction for a long time. So that's great. Transfan 1988. Is there a reason why the Predacons were dropped for Beast Machines and later Transtech? I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know that one. You get to a point where you got too many icons. It was cool to see the Maximal logo on that trailer. So we'll see. We'll see what happens to the Predacons. Andy, I've always felt a lot of good moments throughout the Transformer years, and it feels like we're experiencing another one right now. Good toys, good shows, good comics, good movie. I hope so. Momentum's coming back. A little hiccup of COVID and whatever. Everything's coming back, so the movie will be a big decision point. Will this whole Beast concepts take the movies in a new direction, revitalize the product line, revitalize the inroads to Transformers, perhaps rekindle people rewatching Beast Machines, Beast Wars, and what can happen from that. But if it doesn't really become that, then people won't care about Beast and they won't look backwards and they'll just move on. So there's a lot riding on this for the pivot of the brand long term. That's for sure. All right. 10:58. All right. Another 10, 15 minutes and then we'll call it a night. And yeah. Transformers, I got to tell you, as a fan of pop culture stuff, and then as a designer that got to work on it, there's always something coming out of Transformers. There's retro stuff, reissue stuff. There's new versions of retro stuff. There's new versions of things we've never seen before. There's different styles based on the cartoons and the movies and the retro. There's even multiple expressions, whether it's that licensed stuff or bots. It is a wonderful format to do a lot of different things, and I'm not even sure they do all the things they could be doing with the mystery of transforming one thing into another. But if everything goes to plan, and these shows or movies can get any kind of latch on point, the compelling puzzle play of Transformers and the way you can veneer it is just, they should never have totally bad years, in my estimation. Aaron, is giving toys battle damage paint and airbrushing hard to do well on mass retail item? Okay, so painting. So there's a couple different ways. We'll cover it real light here today, and maybe I'll do a longer, better form of this with images. When you paint toys, you kind of stencil. There's a thing called a plate that kind of gets put over the plastic part and it gets sprayed. And that's spraying a very, let's just call it a delta or something on the shoulder. And then there's a thing called a book, which is a clamp that'll clamp over the part you don't want to paint, leaving the exposed part to be able to be painted. That's usually gloves, boots, things that go all the way around. And then you get things called floating plates, where the plate might not be right against the material so that you're getting a hard line, but a little bit up and raised off of it so you get a fuzzy line. That's one way you can get battle damage paint. Depending on the quality of that plate being appropriately raised and the way the airbrush angle is given by the painter, it can look harsher or more singed. Sometimes you see them, they just look like lines, with a slightly fuzzy edge versus a really fuzzy edge. Um, so it is harder because you have to pay attention to the sloppiness of the paint you're putting on, in a way. Takara does not like to do battle damage, and they definitely don't like to do floating plates or free plates. Star Wars sometimes will just have, like on an X-wing nose, just just kind of a spray of dark. Takara does not do sprays. That was in Universe. The guy who was doing the deco, Brian Parrish, came from Star Wars, or was still on Star Wars, and he was very used to the ships on Star Wars getting the floating plates and free plates and different things. And that, we had to rethink all of that a little bit because Takara just doesn't work that way. So battle damage, also you have to paint the vehicle as it was originally intended, and usually that's a lot of paint anyway. And then to add battle damage is only adding more paint, right? So it can get expensive. It's not so hard to do, it's just expensive to do. So there you go. And it can be hard to do well, but that's factory to factory and the time they take to do it right. How much truth is there to the rumor that the missing G1 commemorative series toys was due to the molds being lost in a warehouse fire? Missing G1 commemorative series toys. I don't know which ones those are referring to. Were those the ones that we were redoing at Hasbro with like the Cosmos that got lost? And yeah. All right, I'll talk about that in a second, Claudio. Yeah, Cybertron Megatron's car mode inspired by race cars from the Cyber Formula anime or the Batmobile, or a mix of both. It is a mix of both. Yeah, definitely. When we were doing Cybertron, we were really into that Cyber Formula anime stuff. No doubt. No doubt. We were looking at it. Now, we knew we had to do stuff, but we really liked how that was taking a real car, or they were fantastical cars that felt like you could build them, in most cases, versus something really like the Beast Machines race car, the basic. It does. I mean, it looks like a race car, but you're never going to see a real race car look like that. Cyber Formula, you could. If G1 Optimus had a beast mode, what would it be? I don't know. Gorilla. Yeah, battle damage is very tough to do. Not everybody's a good designer of battle damage, because it can just look messed up, but not actually. You don't know what kind of damage. The commemorative book boxes from 03. Oh, yeah. I don't know about the tools of those. Those were old tools, so some were remade. Takara remade some of them. Some were old. What does happen to old tools that are no longer functional and can't be refurbished to be usable anymore is they'll either, now they get recycled. In years past, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, when they were done with those things, they became ballast in boats, or boat anchors is how people say it. And the belief is a lot of that, not just toy tooling, but a lot of that ends up in the ocean, kind of getting dumped when the boats are overloaded. That stuff gets taken out. So that is very well the case, that whether they're melted down or thrown overboard or just destroyed, that does happen. Because at the end of the day, it's just a hunk of metal. If it's not functional for manufacturing, you use it as a hunk of metal. Yeah, the commemorative guys like the Dinobots, Sunstreaker, guys who weren't in the line. Yeah, the Dinobots molds for a long time. My understanding is that they were played out, that they had to recast all that stuff. Sunstreaker as well. I mean, you got to think anything that was in G1 that was already in Japan prior to that, prior to Transformers. Unbelievable that any of those tools existed, especially at the success they had in the States and globally. So a lot of those tools had to be remade, essentially. Yeah, those molds would have been probably just what we just they're trash. They're trash. They're no longer viable molds. You'll get the flash. They need, you might compromise safety or something. So there you go. All right. Caden, is it true that a person named Josh Nizzi made a long haul movie style and got hired as a concept artist for movies? Yes, that is true. So that Josh did some concept art that was really cool, very much in the movie style. He was a video game designer, so he was a professional. And ultimately, we introduced him to Michael Bay. He worked on that side. He got into the union and became a designer on the Transformer movies and others. I believe he's in the union. So yeah, Josh Nizzi, good guy. And that's another. I mean, so if you have skills and you know how to apply them, you can find your way into these things. Going back to how I got into toys, that's how Josh, he kind of got into Transformers through that. I'm surprised they haven't 3D scanned the old toys. I don't know if 3D scanning one would be ideal. We'll see. Yep, Josh Nizzi did comic covers as well. Yeah. So, all right. Kept everybody entertained. Most people stayed the whole time. I appreciate that. That was fun. It's a little bit after 11, so I'm going to call it a day. Thank you for showing up and hearing me ramble. Thank you, Princeton Phalanx 59 and Transformers 2000, T-Formers 2002 for the super chats. Much appreciated. Yeah, Ninja, Robot Assassin, Jetpack Man, Claudio, yeah, Jazzmeister, Andy, yeah, all you guys, thanks for coming. Starting to see some reoccurring faces. Great questions. I'll talk to Daniel also about the Transtech, and when we'll get to talk about that one. All right. I hope you guys all have a good evening or start of your day or end of your day, wherever you are. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next week. Thanks.